December 29th, 1991. Crystal had spent the last 6 days in a quandary trying to decide how to proceed from here. All she could figure out was Jasper must have been just fooling her all, even though she had asked him if he wanted a serious answer. She was very sad at this turn of events, but just wanted to let it pass, as she felt it was too late to confront Jasper on it, as she should have done last Monday. But Kelly had told Dan what had transpired, and he was not of the same frame of mind. "Please, Dan, don't do this. Please let me handle this on my own," Crystal pleaded. "For 6 days you have been handling this on your own, and you are not getting any better at it. You and Kelly have been without a man of that long, so I'm going to take charge and settle this dilemma. Dan, don't call Jasper. It's not his fault. It must be all mine. I must have misunderstood him somehow. Please leave Jasper out of it now and let me just heal. Crystal, I've known you long enough now to know that when it comes to sticking up for the Lord and his way, you are like a soldier armed for war. But when it comes to anything you may want in a personal way, you don't stick up for yourself. But instead, you just let the Lord work it all out in his time. Well, I love the Lord too, but I don't like Christians who are shams, and I'm going to show you that Jasper White is either a sham or teach him a valuable lesson so he can serve the Lord more righteously. Please, Dan, trust me, will you?" Crystal had known Dan long enough, too, to know that to continue to plead with him or to threaten him to not call Jasper would only fall on deaf ears. So Crystal sent up a petition to the Lord to work it all out as he saw fit. So in the end, all things would work together for good for everyone involved. She also knew that if she had said, "Trust me," to someone else, she would want them to trust her. So she relented. Ring! Hello? Hello, would this be Jasper White speaking? This would be Jasper White. Yes, this is Dan Corrid speaking. How are you? Fine, thank you, Dan. I'm Crystal's soon-to-be brother-in-law. Oh, I have a picture of you and your fiancé, Kelly. Oh, is that right? Yeah. She sent you the whole crew, did she? Well, she did, I think. She sent me pictures of her family and some of the people that she works with. I see. What do you do for work, Dan? I'm finishing up my Master's of Business Administration degree. Oh, yeah? Do you have a job lined up after you graduate? Yes, I'm going to be working in an accounting office for a well-known company in our city. Good for you. Is Kelly still in university? Yes, she is finishing up her Bachelor of Education. I see. Do you subscribe to Pilgrimage? I don't subscribe to Pilgrimage, no. I'm not exactly sure why either, but if I ever want to read what they put out, all I have to do is borrow Crystal's copies. However, I read your letter, newspaper editorials, and your December trumpet alarm, and I was really impressed with everything I read. Basically, I thought you did a great job. Well, the next one they're going to publish is a part 2 of one they had previously published back in September or October on the kingdom and how it operates. Oh, yeah? But I have another one that they have that I think they are going to publish, God willing, in February. It deals more with the church leaders being responsible for the blindness of our national identity and all the problems that have arisen and the suffering that has been caused by our failure to recognize not only our identity, but our responsibility as the children of the covenant. You know, it amazes me how ministers will not touch this stuff with a 10-foot pole, Dan said. Oh, it shouldn't surprise you, because they realized that if they believed it, they would have to become like Joshua. And no matter who else believed, they would say, "As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord." Now that's the spirit of a person who is called by the Lord to enter the ministry, not just simply because his grandmother said, "I hope Johnny becomes a minister. I always wanted a minister in the family." Sure, Dan laughed. And because he knows that he's going to get about 40,000 a year for doing nothing, those are the people who have gone to seminaries and have come out like robots, indoctrinated in the humanistic dogmas that are coming through in the church pulpits today. The devil doesn't care how many people become Christians. The devil cares what Christians do once Christians become Christians. That's true, Dan agreed. It's when people start taking a stand on principle and speak out. That's when the devil takes offense. Yeah, that's right. It seems this blindness of Israel is only going to be erased by the supernatural events that are going to attend the primary parts of the appearing of Jesus Christ, namely the first resurrection, the earthquake, and the sign of the Son of Man. And until then, you can speak volumes and volumes and volumes and save for a few exceptions to the rule, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's a tragedy too, because by salvation we're saved, by grace we're saved, but I mean, once you become a Christian and you realize the purpose of the kingdom, without a working knowledge of the law of the Lord, it's impossible to come to an appreciation of the kingdom by actual discernment between good and evil. Yeah, Dan said. The thing that makes me concerned and feel bad is how much suffering Israel, our brothers and sisters, are going to have to suffer before we become willing to forsake all of our vanity and materialism and unscriptural dogma and become willing to obey the Lord and administer his law as the law of our lands. Yep, it's certainly going to have to take a purification of the administration as well, because as you and I both know, in both our countries, it's money and corruption and power in dark places that are really in control of what's happening in our governments. And somehow that has to be cleaned away before righteousness can actually be implemented in our countries. Yeah, people don't even know what righteousness is, Jasper said. No, there is no righteousness outside the law of the Lord, Jasper continued. No, Dan agreed. There's a righteousness by faith, but it still has to do with the law of the Lord. And as Moses defined it in Deuteronomy 6:25, it shall be our righteousness if we observe to keep all these commandments, which the Lord our God has commanded us this day. Yep. How can people be considered to be righteous who say that I'm saved and that the law was done away with? How would they live? How would they like it if all of a sudden gravity decided to not follow its law, but decided to reverse itself? Or if the sun or the moon decided to take a day off? Yeah, right. Our creation is just like their creation. We've got laws to follow just like gravity and the sun and the moon do. Yep. You know, I've known this truth about 10 years. It's not that long, but I've always thought of it as a burden. Because first, I lost all my friends, then my employees thought I was a weirdo, but now there is no greater blessing. There is none greater. And all the people I see around me that go to church every Sunday, who put their Bible in its case and bring it, and after the service is over, they put it back in its case. Very good Christians, but they don't have any idea how sorry they're going to be when they realize what they forfeited because they weren't going to be willing to invest a little bit of effort in searching the scriptures for the truth, because as the apostle says, without faith it is impossible to please God. Because whoever comes to him must first believe that he is, and secondly, believe that he rewards those who diligently seek him. And unless you spend some time in prayerful supplication to God, you're never going to get there. You can go to church 7 nights a week, but until you are willing to believe the truth, as it is scripturally put forth, and act upon that truth as if it were an invariable matter, you're not going to get anywhere. And Dan thought Jasper would never let him get a word in. No wonder Crystal fell for this guy. He talks the talk, but does he really walk the walk? Now was his chance to say what he had called to say. I have a question for you. Yeah? I'm kind of a tough old buzzard at times. In your letter that you sent to Crystal, you felt that some should marry and some shouldn't marry, and some should be eunuchs for Christ, and kind of indicated that you would probably be a eunuch for Christ yourself. Uh-huh. And then you almost seemed to reverse yourself by saying to Crystal, will you marry me? Who said that? What? I didn't say that. What? Dan couldn't believe what he was hearing. Will you marry me? You didn't? You never asked her to marry you? Of course not. I told her in the letter. I wrote her that I had no plans on getting married, that I was going to put it right on the line. I never asked if she'd marry me. Oh, that was Fred, was it? Pardon? That was Fred, was it? Who's Fred? Well, you called her last Sunday night and in a serious voice asked her to marry you. I didn't say that. You sure? Jasper was in a big fix. Boy, was he in big trouble. Had he done that under the influence of liquor? Surely not. But what if he did? How was he going to make amends? So he continued. I know I didn't. And if I did, it was only, But it might have been I had just been joking, just to show her that I really liked her and really admired the way she took a stand on principle. See, maybe I shouldn't have joked that way. I thought she knew I was joking because... But then Crystal said to you, do you want a serious answer to that question? Well, I don't remember that. See, I was only joking around. See, maybe I shouldn't have done that. I told her in the first letter I wrote to her I had no plans on getting married. Then when we talked on the phone for the first time, I said, Crystal, I'm not getting married. I didn't mean to. And then later on that day you called her up and in a very serious voice you asked her to marry you. Oh, I don't know. Yep, you called her and she said, yeah, we were just praying, and you said, you're kidding. You weren't just praying, and then you said, will you marry me? Then she said, you sure you want a serious answer to that? See, I don't remember saying that. I think I was probably kidding. Well, anyway, she was kind of left under that impression that is she there now? Yeah, I'm going to let her talk to you. I'll go get her in a minute. But yeah, she was kind of left under that impression. Oh dear, I'm sorry. And well, I'm not sort of directly involved. I'm the type of one to say there's something not consistent here. Of course there wouldn't be. Because the letter says this and the conversation on the phone says this, and this guy writes about wisdom and showing wisdom, and then to flip-flop and say, let's get married. Oh, no. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me. No, of course not. It doesn't. No, and if I said it, I might have only been kidding. Yeah, and I was just trying to show her there aren't many people that feel the way she does, and that I'm kind of alone too here. Well, I'm going to get Crystal. Just a second. Dan left to get Crystal, proud of himself that he had once again snuffed out a real stinker. How dare such a man claim to love the God and preach like he did when he had given Kelly the false hope that God had answered her prayer. Boy, was he going to enjoy telling Kelly what a hypocrite Jasper was, and it was a good thing she hadn't got mixed up in that old heritage of her after all. To Crystal, he said as he passed her the phone, he denied even asking you. Crystal was shocked at this statement and wondered what he meant by it. But since she did not have time to find out, she answered the phone with, Hi. Hi, Jasper echoed. How are you doing? Good. Yourself? Great. I owe you a big apology, Jasper confessed. You do? What for? Did I intimate to you in some way that I wanted to marry you? For initial answer to the question, Crystal laughed. She couldn't believe how Jasper could so sincerely denied having asked her to marry him, but she let him off the hook, for she instantly believed she had totally misunderstood him, and he must have only been kidding with her after all. I knew you were just kidding. Crystal wasn't sure she was telling the truth, but Jasper was in such distress she must do something to relieve it, and fast. Well, Dan didn't think so. What's that? Your brother-in-law to-be didn't think so. Oh, Dan is a very serious type. He wants to know how I could write in my letter about how some men are eunuchs for this and that, and then the next week propose to you over the phone. Oh. Crystal began to wonder how Jasper could be so elusive about acknowledging that he did indeed propose to her, whether he was joking or not. If she was confused before, this turn of events really puzzled her. But being the non-confrontational person she was, until she was sure of how to proceed, she continued to let Jasper speak. I just want to make it clear to you that I think I did say, will you marry me, because I love you for the stand you're taking. There aren't many, especially girls, who are willing to stick their necks out for what's right. And I'll tell you, if I thought we were going to be here for another 60, 70 years, I'd probably come up there and meet you, and who knows. It's just right now, I mean, Crystal, it would be so foolish. And I've got other things to do that I've got to do in the Lord's work. Crystal had heard enough of his using the excuse of the Lord coming back soon as a reason for not getting married, because of how she had come to believe in the Lord's great plan of the ages. So as nervous as she was, she replied, I can understand where you are coming from with regard to the Lord coming back, but that's another thing that's kind of strange about me, is I kind of think part of what the Lord's going to restore back to the way he wanted it in the first place is, like, if Adam and Eve hadn't sinned, they would have been man and wife forever. You understand what I mean? Well, they would have been perfectly mated forever, yeah. He talks a lot about in the Bible, about in Isaiah, the suckling child and the weaned child, and if Israel will obey his laws, it would be a blessing to their children from generation to generation and forever, and stuff like that. And I got kind of thinking that even then, like everybody thinks that there's not going to be marriage once the Lord comes back, but I got thinking that there will be. Well, I agree with you that people will be perfectly mated in the kingdom, but as far as the resurrection goes, Crystal, I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to want to be married then. And I don't know if you'll want to be married then either. Now, Crystal, if I even said jokingly, will you marry me, I want you to know how much I adore you and how much I love you through Christ and how much I thank God for you and everyone like you that has enough faith to stand up for what's right no matter what. It's not many that will take a stand, and God knows who they are too. Another good pamphlet that Henry wrote is called The Divine Library, and he extrapolates from the many books that are mentioned in Scripture. The Lamb's Book of Life, when David is writing his Psalms, he said, Lord, are not my cares collected in your bottle? Are not my ways written down in your book? Then when talking of his enemies, oh, that all of my deeds were written in a book. There are many books in the Divine Library, and they contain information about our lives that we've lived here on earth. about the decisions we've made when faced with certain apparent problems. And it's all going to be opened. And the very visceral magnitude of our souls is going to be opened. And it's opened before God and his angels. And the perfection of our hope is going to be ours. That's why Paul said, as far as I'm concerned, whatever we have to suffer here is not even worthy to be compared with the glory that shall be revealed in us. I guess that says it all right there. Whether it's loneliness, whether it's solitude, whether it's ridicule, no matter what. Crystal wasn't sure what she had said to Jasper had sunk in or not, but this rhetoric, so all she could do for the moment was say, Jasper, always wanting to share his faith, continued. Do you have the Apocalypse of Baruch? Yes, I do. That's a good book too, because he talks about Revelation when the books are open, and he says, and those who have lived lives of leisure and excess now, they shall be turned blacker than black. Their faces shall be turned blacker than black. But those of us that have lived lives in abstinence, we shall be more glorious than glory. Baruch just draws a very understandable picture of the difference that might seem to exist now, but that it's going to be so real in the resurrection. And it's just further confirmation that no matter what you have to suffer here, it will pale into significance compared to the rewards for those who have forfeited things in this world. For it is because of our faith now that we are going to receive these rewards in the restoration of the kingdom. Crystal finally decided that what she should have done last Monday she was going to do now. So she asked, Can I ask you a very serious question? Whatever you want to ask, my heart is yours. All right. When you called up Sunday night, what were you thinking? Like this was about 9 your time, I guess. I don't know. Why? Well, like I said, I don't know if you were with it for me to tell you or for you to comprehend this that night, but I was scared when I know, hear me out, all right? Yeah, I was scared that when you said you didn't want to get married, I was scared I was going to get into another one-sided relationship again where I liked the guy and he didn't like me, like I had with David Armstrong. When you said you didn't want to get married, though, like when you had to say, what you had to say was so wonderful, and I still have a hard time believing it. I don't know if I could just be friends, so I asked Kelly to pray about it with me, that I just be able to be friends. And when Kelly was praying, you called, and I honestly thought you flipped out, Jasper, because for one, when you said, this is Fred, I thought you had gone crazy. Oh, I'm just like that. You see, a lot of times I joke around and it's all in the spirit of fun. But sometimes I shouldn't do that because other people take me too seriously. Like a lot of times people will call. When the phone rings, I'll answer it. Jasper's Place or Jasper's Pizza or Justice Department, just to see what people will do when they get shocked. So why did you ask me to marry you? Oh, probably, I don't know, I guess I explained that earlier. Yeah, I know, but I want to make sure. So you really dead set against marriage. I don't want to get married, and I want to be your friend, and I want to do anything I can to help you. And Jasper was in a real dilemma. How could he ever get married and ask a girl to share his burden of liquor? He truly wanted to be all the Lord wanted him to be, but as much as he prayed, it seemed the Lord was not answering his prayer to take the desire for liquor from him. The reason I asked you again, Crystal interrupted, is I really do want to be your friend. I mean, the marriage part, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't want to get married either. That is something that has always freaked me out. and because I'm always afraid of getting the wrong guy. And unless we believed the same and had the same oneness of spirit with the Lord, I just feel we couldn't be one. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I really would like to be your friend and I can be your friend. I can be anything you want, but I know that I'm not supposed to get married. Jasper couldn't believe Crystal still wanted to be his friend, even after all that had passed, but he didn't want to lose Crystal as a friend either. How do you know that? Crystal yearned to know the truth. Well, the same way people know that they shouldn't do something. I know I shouldn't buy lottery tickets. I know that I shouldn't do this or that. I know that. For the same reason you knew you couldn't go to the Christmas party and enjoy yourself. Jasper just couldn't tell Crystal the truth. He felt sure he would lose her as a friend. All Crystal could do was say, right, to his using the Christmas party incident to try and explain why he felt he should not get married. Jasper could tell that he had hurt Crystal deeply, and to try and help her get over him, he continued, I'm not even interested. I don't even give any thoughts to marriage. And the only reason I said to you the other day, Sunday was a very bad day for me. Was it? Crystal asked in a very sympathetic tone, but she couldn't help but remember what a great day it had been for her, which was now gone forever. I was lonely, Jasper continued to fumble his way, and I got into a little clash with one of my employees because he wanted me to go against God's law. I just felt really alone. I don't know. Maybe it was my heart talking instead of my head. I don't know. Jasper gave up trying to explain what he just could not explain. Crystal, at hearing Jasper's last statement, saw a little ray of hope that Jasper really wasn't being totally honest with her, so she asked, what do you do with the verse that says it's not good that man should live alone? Jasper instantly realized his error and saw that Crystal was not going to give up easily, so he stated clearly once again, Crystal, I don't even think about going on dates. I don't even think about girlfriends. I don't even think about anything that I used to think about all the time. I don't even care to go out to dinner with girls. I don't even care for movies. I don't even care for companionship. On a daily basis with the girls, at least the girls I've previously known, I'm perfectly happy with what I'm doing right now, alone. And I find a lot of comfort in my own company and in the Lord's company. So I guess what I'm saying in a nutshell is this is not a one-sided relationship as long as it remains a relationship of brotherly and sisterly Christian love. Okay. Crystal stated this in a tone that anyone could see her heart was broken and her dreams were all for nothing. Jasper had not given her one really good reason why they were not meant for each other, when it did seem the Lord had miraculously brought them together. Jasper did not want to hurt Crystal, but with his problem, if he could not overcome it, he did not know if he was going to make it into the Lord's kingdom or not. He did not want to drag this earnest young woman with him. So to cheer her up, he tried to encourage her with, well, listen to this, Crystal. You might, if the Lord knows that this type of relationship is what you want, you might meet someone that will make you forget all about me. And if not, here in the kingdom. Yeah, but what I'm trying to tell you, Jasper, is if you feel that you can't get married here, I'm willing to wait until the kingdom age. But if you really think that it is the Lord's will that you're not supposed to get married, then I'll change my mind, my way of thinking with regard to you. But I really believe the Lord brought us together. Jasper couldn't believe this girl's faith, so he continued with, well, then, hey, I don't know. Why didn't Alex King call you? He knows about you. He knew about you even before I knew about you. Well, because it wasn't the Lord's will. Well, is that hard for you to grasp? Well, it is, but it isn't. I'm going to tell you a little story. I met another girl about 3 years ago. As a matter of fact, I met 2 girls, no 3 girls in the past 8 years that I've dated a few times. They all said, "Oh, Jasper, you're the answer to my prayers. You're just what the Lord has for me. You're just what I need." And in time, I realized that it wasn't. And I mean, a lot of times. Things can seem that way, but it doesn't always represent the Lord's will. I mean, in this life, that is so weary and so full of trouble and torment and loneliness, especially for those who love Jesus Christ. But it's not that way, Jasper, at all. No, it's wonderful. Well, I mean, I get down too sometimes, but like I say, at my most critical point of need, the Lord sent me you to tell me don't get down. It's going to be all right. And that's why I wrote to you the letter, because I want you to know you are not alone. But I have no desire to get married, and unless my mind drastically changes in the resurrection, I won't then either, because I won't need it. I guess I've always been a loner, and I probably always will be. But I know that I'm serving God and doing what He wants, and that's all I want to do. And I'm 100% for that. Pardon? I said that if that is really the Lord's will for your life, that I'm 100% for that. Well then, I thank you. And then let's just keep it as just good spiritual friends, as a brother and sister. Okay. Let's be a brother and sister. Be my sister, okay? Okay, for now. And we'll be close that way. All right. Okay, I love you. I love you too. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Crystal hung up the phone, sure that she finally had the answer to her prayer of whether or not it was the Lord's will she only be friends with Jasper. Jasper was not the man for her. He had made it very clear he never would think of her as his perfect mate the Lord had chosen for him. Was she crazy to hold such a belief that the Lord's perfect plan for His children was to only have one perfect mate? Had she gotten the message wrong from the Lord's own example in choosing Israel as His allegorical spouse? No, she was not wrong in her belief in one mate for all eternity. She was only wrong to believe that Jasper had been the one the Lord had chosen for her. So to the best of her ability, she would be the best sister that Jasper needed.